Conservative MP William Wragg. I have been harassing you for months to try and get this interview, so thank you for finally giving it.
Only in a very polite way.
Very polite. This is what you wrote last August. I have lived with depression and anxiety for most of my adult life. At the moment, both are severe. How are you now?
I'm fine, as we always say. In response to that question, I'm certainly not feeling as I did in August, and feeling genuinely much better, much more positive, much happier, dare I say it. And I think, you know, the clouds or the black dog, it comes and goes throughout life. And I think the summer was a particularly acute period of it.
When did you first become aware of your depression?
Probably when I was at university. And I think therefore, on and off at various stages of my life, it has been there. And I think I class depression and anxiety of the different sides of the same coin. I think they quite often come as a pairing in that way. And you know, certainly through the time that I've been an MP, yeah, there have been some tough spells, but nothing quite as affecting as it was over the course of the last summer. Can
you tell us a little bit, whatever you feel comfortable with, about how it affects you?
Well, depression in my case is a profound numbness to the world and people around me. And it's entirely out of character, because actually, despite the impression I may give to some people, I quite like other people, by and large, and get on with most people, and enjoy the company of others, and generally I'm enthusiastic about the things that I apply myself to. So when that all sort of drains away from you, it's very noticeable, and certainly that was the state that I'd found myself in during the summer. But also, you know, you have heightened anxiety, and everybody has anxiety from time to time, and it's quite natural, frankly, to feel nerves and apprehension, the sorts of things. But when that becomes an anxiety and apprehension about everyday things, from getting up in the morning to going out for a walk, to doing this, that and the other, then you know it's not the everyday run-of-the-mill stuff, and really it's quite serious.
What do you do when you're having an episode? What sort of treatment is available?
Well, for me, I'm much better at identifying it, but I haven't actually, before the summer, spoken publicly of it. You know, close friends knew, and I'm sure people throughout my life have noticed times where, inexplicable disappearances, where I sort of retreat and take time for myself. Long walks in a sort of old romantic sense along, moorlands and headlands and all this, that and the other. But I think really it usually requires me to take a bit of time out and a bit of time away. And it was only on this occasion that I actually explained what it was, rather than people, being curious as to, where's he gone? What's happened to him?
And why did you decide to go public last year for the first time?
Because I wanted to hold myself accountable for getting better. And the only way I could see at that time in doing so was to make it clear what it was, rather than it being some sort of secret that lurked away. And I think would have, the likelihood would be that it would come back more frequently, because it made myself accountable. It took me a while, perhaps, to do everything that I needed to do, because being public about something, you do feel a sense of, well, I've done that. Good on me. I can, relax. But no, actually, I liken the depression sometimes to, if you imagine this image, that you've fallen through a floor, and then you land on the floor below. You think, goodness me, well, I've come through that and it's okay. And then you start to hear the floorboards creak around you. And, no, I'm going to be going down another level. And so I think it's sort of trying to break out of that cycle. And I think being public about it, that was my means of doing so.
Is there anything you can do to help yourself emerge from that darkness?
Yeah. And a lot of it is yourself. Yes, you can have the support of other people, but I do think you need to have that self-awareness in order to drive yourself, and that can be a very, very, very small step, simple things. But without that, I don't think you can be entirely lifted from that state, from external things.
Do you think the political environment, the nature of our politics, does it exacerbate or amplify your mental health?
Does it not? I don't think it. Well, I don't know, because it's not really a controlled experiment, is it? Because I'm not. If I'm not in a different situation, so all life and different occupations have their challenges, which can. There's nothing unique to politicians. I think there's something quite unique to a certain pressurized environment in the political world, but that can be in other public-facing roles and roles of leadership as well, where the expectation, of course, is that you will remain impermeably strong and set an example to others. So I think you will find it in different walks of life. I wouldn't necessarily say that politics is conducive to having your mind in a happy sense of equilibrium all of the time, though.
This may be too private a question, and you can not answer. Medication, therapy?
Well, I resisted medication for some time, because on previous occasions I think I spent the best part of a few years. When I just become an MP, actually, I was on a course of medication for a few years, and I, rather in my unilateral way, decided to come off that without any thought of what the withdrawal might be to it. But that was the way that I dealt with things then. And so it took a bit of time for me on this occasion. But no, I do take a reasonably mild dose of sertraline each day, which, as your viewers may be familiar, is an antidepressant, and also has particular helpful effects with regards to anxiety.
Good. Well, I'm pleased to hear that at the moment you're feeling much more like yourself.
Yes, whatever that is, yeah.
But thank you for describing the nature of your depression and anxiety. You're only 35.
But yeah, I've not weathered well.
You were elected to Parliament in 2015. You're not going to stand at the next election. No. Well, I wouldn't want people to think it's an immediate follow-on from our previous conversation. I mean, the most shocking thing that seemed to be the case when I announced I wasn't going to stand was people suddenly realised how young I was, because I've been, pretending to be much older than I am for many, many years, and but it's not linked to my bout of mental ill health. Although that did give me a perspective that there may well be more to life, dare I say it, than politics. I'm sure you might attest yourself. So it's much more of a positive choice. I think that when you do something for will be the best part of 10 years or so, and my misspent youth was getting into Westminster. And there's obviously an element of me that thinks that there must be more to life. It's not to say I will miss it terribly, because despite all of the ups and downs, if I can put it that way, I really do enjoy being a member of Parliament. And I think there is something unique in that, which, unless you have experienced it, it's hard sometimes for others to quite appreciate what that unique quality is. And so I'll miss it, but I'm certainly made the decision in a positive fashion. I don't want people to get their little violins out for me. And I'm quite looking forward to doing other things in the future. Yeah, and I can testify that there is sunshine away from those green benches. As you say, it's a wonderful privilege. Nobody else can appreciate just how wonderful it is, but there are limits for everyone. Right, let's talk a little bit about politics, because you caused controversy when you stood up in the House of Commons. This was when Boris Johnson was coming under pressure to stand down, really, as leader of the Conservative Party. And you made the allegation that there was blackmail of a nature of MPs, Conservative MPs, who were threatening to oust Boris Johnson, that if they stepped out of line, they could lose constituency funding. Mm-hmm. I know you've met with the police about those allegations at their invitation. You told me before we came out. Where are we with that?
Well, that never particularly went further with the police, but I stand by what I said at that committee session, because I witnessed and had testimony from colleagues about the pressures that they were coming under, which I felt was not just unacceptable in a political sense, but I thought wasn't how you should treat people. And in saying so, a number of people came forward with their experiences, and indeed we've seen as recently as this morning in the press an example whereby this kind of tactic had been deployed in a different context. And so I think there was a cultural problem at the time within government that they thought that they could overtly control the voting behaviour of members of Parliament by either directly or implicitly threatening to withdraw projects and funding from their constituencies, which I don't think is acceptable. What
do we do about it? Has it always been a tool for the executive?
Well, lots of things have always happened. Whether they're acceptable is a different question entirely. I think the best way in politics, if you want to get people on board, is to convince members of Parliament of the strength of an argument. And when that argument is relatively flimsy and people are growing tired and wearisome of it, that might be a reflection on the argument. So I don't think strong arm tactics are the best way. But just because it's always happened doesn't mean it's the right and healthy thing for our democracy.
Do you think we might see the return of Boris Johnson in a leading role at any point?
Well, it wouldn't be for me to say. It might not surprise you that it wouldn't necessarily be at my invitation.
William Wragg, the reason I wanted to do this interview, the reason why I have been pinging those messages to you for so many months, is because I wanted to show that people, leading people in public life, are humans just like the rest of us, with the same strains and stresses that many of the rest of the nation endure. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you for having me.